Hello, welcome. Today, I think we're going to talk about something quite radical, and it's the word surrender. What if I told you the title of today's discussion is Beyond Surrender, Stepping Outside of the Dream? What would that mean to you? Does that sound heretical? I'd like to talk about what A Course in Miracles says and how I now understand that idea of surrender in non-dual ways. Because if you've listened to any of the previous episodes, this is episode 11. For me, it always comes back to the oneness. So, to the best of my knowledge, A Course in Miracles does not actually use the word surrender anywhere. It says over and over things like, you try to keep to yourself what you would not want to give to me, or put in more positive terms, over and over we're asked to give to God, the Holy Spirit, and what some people consider the writer of the Course being Jesus. Whoever, whatever that is, give it to me. When you're in the ego is when you're asked to surrender. That's really important to me. Location, as I've mentioned before, is everything. Now, A Course says you were never born and you cannot die. Now, I think I've said this many times before, but it always comes back to this because A Course in Miracles, as I always say, is progressive and speaks to us on many levels. And thank goodness, because most of us are not ready for the non-dual at first. I certainly was not. So whatever travails, that's kind of a French word, whatever disturbances the ego has caused, A Course in Miracles would ask you to put it on the altar and give it to that higher self. The Holy Spirit is most often what's said. But that's two. There's spirit and there's you. Where do we locate ourselves? If indeed we locate ourselves as a person, as a separate being, as a solid being, as a personality, and then of course we fall under the umbrella of the ego, then yes, it's a very good idea to put something on the altar, everything on the altar. And we do it over and over and over again. And we choose once again, and that's only for the person or the being that's located as a separate self. But if we aren't separate beings, and we are what quantum physics says we are, energy potential, what if? Then all we need to do is plug into the all. If we think we're separate for just a momentary conditioned self, I believe we're all hypnotized from birth to believe that there is a separate self. We get conditioned. That doesn't make it true. Remember, the world was believed to be flat. And then people woke up. Enough people woke up to create a movement to throw out that idea and go with science. And I believe we're at that moment in time now. So, what does it mean to be hypnotized? It means you don't see what you could see, and you do see possibly what's not there. We'll come back to hypnosis later, but I think that word is very valuable. We don't ever do under hypnosis something that's morally inappropriate to our sense of integrity or goodness or ethics. Even with hypnosis, you might see that in a movie, but it's not possible. I've studied hypnosis. You can put somebody in a trance as long as what your suggestions are do not impinge on a person's morality. Now, I suppose if someone were really wanting to murder and they were on the edge and you hypnotized them and suggested it, perhaps they would. But that's the only situation I can foresee that happening. So let's go back to the possibility that we could be hypnotized by the belief that we're separate beings. We're taught that as babies. There's you and me, and there are people that don't seem to understand us, and so they feel separate. And we're lacking something, and we're trying always to be better and do more and get more. And we're taught this by our parents. This makes us achievers and good children when we go out and get stuff. So the goodies are there, and we're loving sentient beings when we're born. So we're easily hypnotizable. The goodies are there. No harm was meant. They were taught the same thing. We have an opportunity now to awaken slowly, not slowly in time, but do you know when you're deeply asleep, don't you just generally like to wake up slowly? Not like, now it's time to get up. No, isn't it nice to kind of gradually go from the deep sleep to being awake and alert? All right, so if we're not separate beings, that means we're not located in a dense body. What are we? Now notice I said, what are we? I didn't say who. If I say who, you have to go through a whole list of things that you're not. You're not a teacher, you're not a parent. Yes, you're these things, but that's not who you really are. That's the neti in Sanskrit. And it's a very holy path that many mystical teachers have taught their students. Tell me everything you believe you are, and then we'll find out that you're not that, because you age, so you're not the body. You're not your gender, because your gender is only part of your manifestation. It isn't a separating force. You can't feel your gender. We're going to go back to direct experience. We learn to act in a way that's our gender, and it is in a way part of our coloration. It's our manifestation. It's our appearance. It's how we interact in the world. But being a teacher or a sanitation worker or a doctor or a lawyer, when we go through these netties, we find out those are roles. They are roles we take. But what are we? So let's do a meditation so that this does not become just a cerebral, conceptual thing. Let's start with what we are. And let's start with a belief that we're a body. Let's start inside the body today. Now, I can notice that I'm breathing. I did not control that breath. I can, within a little bit of degrees, control my breath. I can make it longer or shorter, but I am not the breather. I am being breathed. I function as the breather. The heart is inside these bones and skin. But what if it's as simple as my allowing the possibility that I am being breathed? That means that I belong without doing anything to an energy that's greater. Maybe greater isn't the word. Maybe because greater brings up the word lesser, and that is not what I mean. What if the word is the connection? There's just a connection between that which breathes me and that which knows I am alive. The knower and the breather are one. The knower that I'm alive is not inside my head because there's something that knows my thoughts. And then there's underneath the knower of my thoughts is a knower of that local knower. The one that's noticing me can be noticed again. And that's a knower with a capital K. If I am one with the knower, with the breather, with that which is breathed, and if I'm not, if you say, well, I don't get it, I don't know about all this, find the edges. Show me where the edges are between your thoughts, your feelings, the knower of those feelings, and the knower of those feelings, the one that is observing the knower. I can't find any edges, can you? What about the room that seems to be holding us? There's furniture, and the furniture is being held by the floor, and the floor is being held by a building, unless you're outside, and then the earth is holding your body. If you're in a chair, the earth is holding the chair. If you're on the ground, the earth is holding you. But we're not just on the ground. Where's the edge between the space of the room and your heart? Is it really the perimeter of your body? Let's say you feel it's your body, that your bones and skin. Let's go further out. You're being held by bones and skin. You believe that's your location now inside of a body. But what if I invite you now to move on out from the room that we're in to the air outside and the sky? Where are the edges? They're starting perhaps to be blunted, to be less clear. Now, what if the life that we believe in, that is about thoughts and feelings and sensations and perceptions, what if that is like our nighttime dream? When the Course says we're responsible, it means only in the dream. There is no life without that. I live with the One. The Course says God. There is one life, and that I live with God. But I tend to refrain from the word God because God is the greater and we're the lesser, and we're back to two. But what if there is one life and that I live with one? Now, if we are willing to go with our direct experience, we're feeling connected to the room, to the stars, to the moon, to the sky, to other people. They're experiencing the same, and they are also the roots connected like the trees are connected below the ground. They don't appear connected, but they are connected. If we're willing to go beyond appearances, what if we're willing to go with our direct experience as a hypothesis? Then this place, space-like place, it's not really a place, it's beyond a place. We're actually joining the way A Course in Miracles means for us to join in the holy instant. Right now, there is no separate will. There is only the One. Now, if we go with dreams again, the idea that there's a daydream, and that's what we're imagining is our separate life. What if we go with that again? What could we call ourselves? If we say I, we think of the personality and the solid body. If we say I, awareness, we're much closer. What if we said I, the host? It's if we define ourselves as part of the all, there's nothing to surrender. We are being lived. We are being breathed. We will take action, but it's not from a separate personal self. It's all part of the manifestation. We are the manifestation. Now, I was reading a book and a person was talking about their grandfather, and they said, he is our oak tree. I started to think about what is an oak tree. An oak tree is strong, it's dense, it's solid. And what if we play a trick on our minds and say that we're the oak trees, not because we're a personal self, but because we're one with the one? What if that is what makes us powerful? That's what quantum physics says we are. We're infinite potential. For some people, there'll be grief in thinking of ourselves as just a manifestation of the all, the impersonal self. But who is the one grieving? We've spent so much time in conditioning trying to be better that we don't really want to give up our project. Our project is the personal separate self. But there's no harm in that. We can play in a dream just the way we play in our nighttime dreams. We create like an actor. We could be the actor in the play, directed by what looks like ourselves. But even that is part of the all. If there is an all, then it is everything. There is nothing, no exceptions, not your mind, not your feelings, not your personal self, not your wishes, not your dreams. It's all part of the play of the manifestation. It's just that we sometimes get confused, but ignorance is not sin. Being hypnotized is not a sin. So let's go back to surrender. What is there to surrender? Now I have to say in defense of the word surrender, because there are no two wills, there's just the one. Everything is of the one. Your story is different from my story. That's just our personal dreams, but they're no more real than the dream you had last night. But going back to the word surrender, I have to say that in all the years since the late 80s that I was putting things on the altar and trying to be better and choose again and believe in not judging and connecting with my brother, it did feel better. And I think those steps for most of us are very important. There are very few people who work out all the bugs of personality after an awakening. Most of us need to do it step by step before we claim the oneness. And so giving it to Jesus, giving it to higher Holy Spirit, giving it to Holy Spirit, giving it to God. If that's what's in your heart and feels better and is what you can relate to, then by all means do it. This will be here if and when it's going to be your part of the manifestation to claim this. It's there for everyone, but not everyone is meant to take it. I believe, and this is my experience, I would say I know that life happens through me. And if I'm even to get a glass of water, that too was meant to be. The script was written. The script is written on every level. So people usually say, well, if everything is written and I'm being breathed, why should I do anything? Well, it comes back to trying not to do anything. You will not be able to just lay on the couch. You will think, I need a glass of water, call this person, I need some groceries, I would like to exercise. It's just a question of what you think that I is. So let's go back to being hypnotized. There is a universal wake up from hypnosis, and that's counting backwards. So let's borrow from neuroscience this time and use some understanding of how the mind works, and also something from emotional freedom from tapping. And let's go to the moment we forget and believe that we're a separate self, but we notice it with local awareness. We can then say 3, 2, 1. That's the universal wake up from hypnosis, returning home to the one. This karate chop is the setup from tapping. And it wakes up the sensations that coordinate for peace. It's meridians. And it organizes with the parasympathetic system where we relax. And so we can relax in changing our location. We can feel anger, we can feel irritation, but if we don't add that it's a personal self, then it's not I am angry, it's anger is happening. And when you're talking to your location and trying to wake up And remember, you can fill in the words 3, 2, 1, returning to oneness, or whatever words bring you back to that wake up of what you really are. So I'm signing off now. See you next time. And for those of you who are listening in 2021, I will be the speaker at Jennifer Hadley's Sunday with Spirit on November 14th, and we'll be talking more about this. So bye for now. Please join me also on A Course in Miracles Gather and YouTube. Please join my channel and leave a comment. And if you join, they will send you whenever there's an update. Thank you very much. It helps a lot that more people can see these. Bye.